Alrighty, everybody, a best of 5! Another from the PCFORMAN Super Tournament, an event we've been casting some replays of that was organized by Team GP, and it happened around a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, so kind of middle of July. It's taken us a while to get through these replays because we've just not had a lot of days spare to cast replays on and stuff, or not a lot of downtime between events, so we're kind of like doing this like 2 or 3 series a week through this tournament, but they're cool games, so I thought it's a good little kind of bank of replays to kind of work from, you know? So, yeah, I just thought this was a cool one as well. From the round of 8, Maru, GuMiho. Maru, I know a name that always attracts people, but GuMiho, one that is very popular as well. Recently back from the military, of course. Top right-hand side is going to be the Red Terran player from Storm. It is GuMiho. And then the bottom left, Red Terran from Team NV is Maru, who will be like a heavy favorite in this series. Apparently, people just don't care if that's the case or not anyway, because I actually uploaded, I think, Maru vs. Trust on YouTube yesterday, and it's been my best performing video in the last 2 weeks, even though, well, as you expect, you might expect, it's kind of a bit of a stomp, to be honest. But people just don't care, man. People see Maru and they're like, hell yeah, Maru! So yeah, always good to cast a bit of Maru. If you do end up watching this one on the YouTube and you've been baited into clicking on the video because Maru is a part of it, then let me know what's up in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like on the video as well, and of course subscribing on the YouTube channel helps you to see our daily uploads of awesome Starcraft 2 games, so please do consider checking that out. It goes a long way to supporting the channel, which has been having its worst month of new subscribers in about a year and a half or 2 years. It's been a little bit dismal lately. We're getting kind of hard stuck. We're plateauing hard on the subscriber count, so I'm gonna have to look into that and see what we can do to maybe freshen up the YouTube channel a bit, make it attractive again, because right now it's not growing so much, which is all good. But just a reminder, if you do watch regularly, subscribing and stuff obviously helps you to see when the videos go up, and it helps me out too. Those numbers, they help me, they make me happy, you know, and if I'm happy, then yeah. Alright, so we're just going to be coming on through. There's a couple of Reapers wanting to hop up in towards this main base. Reaper taking some damage. A grenade goes down and just going to scare a couple of units away. As the 2 Reapers do escape out of there. Starport is on the way up as well. It's just going to be having that starport finishing shortly. I was just going to be seeing the Reapers just kind of pulling back home. Starport going to move on over to that tech lab. Just going to swap onto this, and we're going to start seeing that Raven production. So yeah, Maru start with the proxy racks. It's a pretty, honestly, like, yeah, it's a bit aggressive, but it's not the craziest thing in the world either, because you have a racks back at home. The biggest thing is your factory is delayed. And in this case, he's not going to end up going for like fast stim or anything either, so it will kind of be factory focused from here. As the Reapers move up to the top side of the map. So yeah, our Reapers are going to make their way up here. This Rax flies through the main base, as we do have a single Marine going to just latch itself onto that right away. And I'm just going to be seeing our Banshee going to end up popping out, and it's going to be on a bit of a journey around. A couple of Hellions at the front to help defend those Reapers. And as GuMiho really has a good start. I mean, the initial proxy from Maui doesn't do much, and now you've got Cloak Banshees against no Ravens. It's pretty promising for GuMiho. I like it a lot. Grenades going down, just bopping some units around as well. Is just going to be seeing our couple of Reapers getting away, but yeah, overall decent defense from GuMiho, and definitely putting him into, I'd say, the commanding position, because I get the feeling that those Banshees are going to have something to say about what happens in the next little while in this game or this series. So yeah, let's see what indeed does come up next, as we've got those Reapers returning home, and otherwise, I mean, now Maru is building a Raven. Another Banshee on the way from GuMiho, though, and that's something else we might be able to look at. As Hyperflight Rotor starts, I was about to say we might be able to see something really funky out of this. I wasn't actually expecting Hyperflight Rotors, but I was thinking maybe we play Banshees into Mech. And with Hyperflight Rotors on the way, he's going to play a lot of Banshees here, and I think that's always really cool to see. I think it's always a really fun starter to watch out for. As the Banshees get rid of a few Marines to begin with now, and a couple of SCVs start going down as well. One Banshee does fall, though. That's such a shame when you invest into the Hyperflight Rotors, too, because obviously you just want more Banshees. More Banshees is going to be better here. You're getting that upgrade for them. So to lose a Banshee already is a little bit of a no, not like this sort of moment, but it's not, far from the end of the world. These things do happen. As a starport comes over to the tech lab, and our command center going to be finishing up in the main base fairly soon as well. The Banshee back around to the upper side as a couple of armories are on the way up as well here. All of this just getting sorted out right now. So yeah, just seeing a double armory coming through, and again, a couple of Banshees will continue to make their way out across towards the bottom side of the map and just trying to find some aggressive openings. Backed up by these few Cyclones, GuMiho just trying to maintain being the aggressor here as Maru is on his way to his own Cyclones, his own Mech play. Not every day you see, a Mech versus Mech. And we're going to get to see a little bit of that here this time around. And I think especially cool because those Banshees might actually have a real role to play in Mech versus Mech. I can see them being more successful than against, I think they already can be successful against Bio, but I can imagine against Mech, you're just really relying on only Cyclones then as your kind of defense against them, and they can just be that little bit tougher to kind of have all the time in the right places versus Marines. Again, SCV kill, but the turret forces the Banshees away. Our fourth Banshee of the game is about to be popping out as soon as GuMiho is mining over third base. Remember that all the momentum kind of sways in GuMiho's favor just because that initial defense of his was very good. And Maru is definitely the one that is trailing slightly off of the opening. And is the one that has to try and maybe make something happen on the follow-up. You can see he's fallen behind in the upgrades massively in GuMiho's favor. The upgrades in Mech versus Mech, not their biggest deal sometimes. There is a point at which upgrades kind of become important, but it's not like, I'm kind of calling Maru losing these engagements upcoming because of upgrades. A lot of this will still be much more so about positioning, etc. As it looks like we're going to go fight this turret. I was going to say, he was positioning to make sure everything was stacked up properly to fire at once. And GuMiho just cleans out a turret and maybe gets Maru a little bit worried about that position. He builds up 2 new turrets. Maru just really wanting to make sure any point of vulnerability is well covered. He knows that GuMiho is investing heavily into those Banshees, and so there is no shame in investing heavily into his Banshee defense. Because, why go around losing your, losing SCVs and losing stuff when you could have just spent a few hundred more minerals on making sure nothing happens of it, right? So he knows it's an inevitability if he doesn't prepare that these Banshees deal damage. So he takes that damage he would take and, takes the money from that and just invests it into turrets to make sure he doesn't take damage and all that kind of stuff. Oh, fun set of lock-ons here. Maru's Ravens obviously help him a lot in these fights with the auto turrets he can put down. The Banshee's putting out good damage as well, though, as we actually see some of Maru's units continuing through. GuMiho putting up a reasonable defense against it as well. Salami's still moving around the left-hand side. The Cyclone kind of wanted to come in and maybe try and do something there, but didn't quite get the chance. 2 auto turrets going down. The Hellbats do get chased away. Now a Banshee gets shot out of the sky. It's going to be seeing double auto turret going down once more as Maru tries to keep this position. GuMiho's going to have to pull a few SCVs into this, but again, the Banshee showing up from the other side is going to get shot down, but it takes a lot of the attention away from the ground army, which does push through, and maybe one of those engagements where upgrades do matter a little bit as well. Unsiege tanks against unsiege tanks. A fun one as Hellions turn back around. Another Banshee that will die. I mean, this has just been scrappy in terms of how it's been playing out. We're going to be seeing the push from GuMiho continues all the way across the map, though. Again, on top of this third base, and it looks as though this third base is very likely to go down here, going to be falling in the very near future. So that third CC does end up being cancelled. And just still going to be seeing our Hellbats and our Cyclones pushing on through. Going to get a lock onto one of the Ravens. The other one got locked onto but escaped. Obviously, Raven energy is one of the key resources still here in this TvT. And we only have one player who's really been using that resource, which is Maru. So taking that away and taking that out of the equation evens up the game a little bit in GuMiho's eyes. As again, he was focusing on Banshee production, not Raven production early. Aliens coming across and they're going to fire a couple of shots in. Some almost warning shots. As this base comes under fire. Maru obviously trying to stop this fourth base from GuMiho being active too soon because his own fourth base is just finishing and his third base isn't landed right now either. So Maru in a little bit of an economical kind of dip. Hopefully he can draw himself out of it because otherwise GuMiho really is kind of running away with this first game. 20 supply up, looking pretty good in that regard. And I see Shank that's a bit of a random place. This army, though, is going to come in. This CC isn't finished, as mentioned. It was on the way up. That's a cancel on the fourth base. That's just a great position to fight in from GuMiho. It's a great way to push. He knows that it's guaranteed damage if he gets in position. It's not something that can lift up and be replaced or anything. It's real good, solid damage that will be quite substantial. Maru still on the other side, making some of these trades look great for him, but he's starting to lose a lot of units once again. The SCV's pulled once more. He doesn't lose very many of them, GuMiho. Just a handful, and it just helps to offset some of the ground advantage that Maru had in that moment. And now GuMiho has everything else joining up, and Maru will absolutely be chased away without any inclination of turning back around to try and fight once again. Alright, again with the counterattack as GuMiho is denying the third base from landing once more, and that's definitely going to be getting to the point now where Maru cannot really sustain this much longer. But Maru at least counterattack one more time. 6, 7 workers killed. The last Hellion has so much potential. 11 kills, make it 12 to finish it up. As the Hellion does finally go down, but getting some final additional shots that felt very necessary. As GuMiho cleans up a little bit up there, there is going to be a Liberator showing up to push back a couple of GuMiho tanks in the middle of the map. Maru down 40 army supply and more now, as obviously GuMiho has seriously just mined more. You look at the income graph in this game, yep. All this time, Maru not being allowed that base, which he's just meant to have, and GuMiho is just going to run straight in. Is this a little bit overeager? It may be, but he is getting on top of these tanks with a few units at least left alive, and he is going to get the cleanup with units left to tell the tale, which means they can go and put their attention into killing off this third CC, at least the SCVs on this base, and that should secure GuMiho this game, because now that is damage that Maru will very much so struggle to kind of get himself away from. You know, that's just damage you don't recover from, and GuMiho ends up taking game one of our best of 5. It's a romanticide for our second map. Bottom right corner in the blue. It is from Sidestone Gaming, GuMiho. He leads 1-0. I guess we'll talk about that in a sec, but game number 2 in the top left is our Red Terror Maru, who will go a bit more aggressive with the proxies this time. Proxied 1 racks last game and definitely got behind from there. But he also felt like he got into a good enough position to play out of it, right? And I gotta genuinely say, I think that GuMiho just played a really cool mech versus mech game. I do think the Banshees helped a lot. I think they're actually really cool. I don't think the Ravens saw a lot of love, given the fact that they were kind of the alternate investment. I felt like the Ravens were not going to do anywhere near as... I felt the Ravens were going to do a lot more. So yeah, that was kind of a shocker on my end. I just felt like GuMiho took some really cool scrappy fights, dealt with, you know, damage on his side of the map, while, again, denying bases of Maru. And especially, like, when that fourth base was coming up and he just moved there to shut it down, I thought that kind of move is the kind of move that really makes a difference in games like that as well. So, yeah, pretty cool from GuMiho as he takes the first game of the best of 5. Game 2 on Romantic side, starting off very aggressively with the Proxy 2 Rax Reaper. Like I mentioned, a little bit more aggressive this time from Maru, as GuMiho is completely blind as well. No SCV scout, but a blind factory. No second gas, though. This isn't like 2 gas factory. This is just racks factory off 1 gas. That's a little bit weird. But the factory being before the expansion still means that this is good news for GuMiho because he can go towards a Hellion at least. The reason it is so quick though is because he skips the Reaper and goes for a Marine, which is... it's a weird one because then you don't have a Reaper to deal with these initial proxy racks Reapers. And maybe that's a problem, but then again you also have the factory that much sooner while still expanding, so perhaps that's okay. Depends if you keep this expansion up. As 2 Reapers here is going to hop up and they should kill the Marine. Don't think there's too much of a question that, but the Reaper pops out on the other side. What timing for GuMiho. Oh wow, and that's going to be a Reaper dead for Maru against a Marine dead from GuMiho. So GuMiho, I would say, already taking this to a pretty good position as he's going to be the one to clean out this SCV on the natural, gets rid of that. And that Hellion going to join up with the Reaper. I just want to say very quickly, Isaacson, thank you so much for the Prime sub as well. Thank you for supporting the stream. Yeah, Maru's still building Reapers, but from here on out, what do you really get done with them? Just kind of annoying pressure more than anything is what I would call it. You kind of get to sit around and threaten the jump up into the main base, right? And you can trade against these Hellions a little bit too. He loses 1 more Reaper now, though. Make that 2. Uh-oh. Maru is running into some serious trouble. 3 Reapers dead. That is some serious problems right here. Well, yeah, that's just a lot of Reapers that didn't achieve anything. So for the 2nd game in a row, gotta say that Maru's proxy has been lackluster. A counter-attack in from GuMiho is already going to deny the command center from building further. And GuMiho just gets off to an extremely good start in this game number 2. I mean, you just can't really say much else about it. It is a fantastic position to be in. As he's killing SCVs, he might actually kill this depot. If he killed this depot, that's a big deal. I mean, Reaper's coming at the same time, so now he's going to take damage too. He's focusing at home, otherwise he would have been in the main base dealing damage. He's not going to move forward with his Hellions. And that's just a little bit of multitasking problems from GuMiho that could have done so much more on this side of the map. He realizes as the Cyclone pops, imagine those Hellions been fighting SCVs this entire time. Maru is going to be down at least 5-ish workers, right? Maybe even more depending on how well GuMiho can micro them and keep them alive. But he had so much time to get in and do damage, and he completely missed the opportunity. An open door sat in front of him, but it was across the map, and he just didn't see it. I mean, that might have just sealed the deal for game 2. GuMiho could have been up 2-0, perhaps. As it stands, he still holds an army supply lead, and that's what I mean. If you just killed like 5 workers there, you're holding an army lead and a big worker lead, and that combination is a fantastic spot to be in, obviously. I mean, still in a good spot. But it is Romanticide as well, and that will always be the one thing to mention here in terms of if someone is ahead. Romanticide's a difficult map to turn victories into turn advantages into victories on. It's very you can have a lot of leads on Romanticide and still find yourself just headbutting into a defensive opponent who just will not leave the game, and you can lose the game off doing that too much. So that's something that GuMiho probably has to be really cautious of. Man set on either side, obviously, as we set up into 3 bases. Maru building his 3rd on location versus GuMiho's, which is finished in his main. So finished a little bit faster, but having to float down to the low ground versus not having to float down just means that it's more or less similarly timed by the time they get mining in position and properly building SCVs. So maybe Maru has a little bit of an edge on that one. As GuMiho is obviously still building up. Sorry, I think I said that the wrong way around. Maru's obviously in this top left, the one that was already finished, so has a little bit of a faster 3rd base to help him catch up on the SCV counter as he is down by a few. Makes sense though, right? GuMiho has the larger army, he has the stronger army. He is absolutely the one that could have made a move to cancel a 3rd that was being built in position, whereas Maru cannot do that if GuMiho stays at home. And that's why GuMiho has the confidence to take that base on location and just kind of take the advantage that you get from that. So just able to kind of run away with that a little bit. Banshee cloaks up and is going to move toward the main, although it doesn't find anything just yet. I thought there was it was another potential to do something there. I mean, there's a Raven. I guess before you get any real damage done, Raven shows up and just pushes you back. You'd be lucky to get anything more than a Marine, really, I guess. I was going to say, maybe you could have started target down Siege Tank. Didn't happen, though. Uh-oh. Mech versus Mech again. Round 2. Maru not deterred by his previous meching loss. Really expecting GuMiho to mech a lot in this series too, so shouldn't be, too surprised if, this turns out to be mech on mech again. He shouldn't be like, wait, what, you're playing mech again? Because that's kind of just GuMiho's whole vibe, right? So, in that regard, Maru is obviously somewhat confident he can turn around whatever happened in that last game and come back with a better set of answers for mech versus mech this time through. I mean, already it's going to be a bit more standard. No Banshees coming up from GuMiho. So that's going to be one thing. And that might just mean that the game is just that little bit less chaotic and hectic in general. 2 Ravens of Maru, 1 for GuMiho in this second map of this best of 5. Oh, turret of GuMiho gets in for a few worker kills. I like it. All of this just keeps him ahead by a handful of workers this entire time. Takes a 4th on location as well, as he is the one still on the map. Maru is not, so why the hell not take advantage of that? And he will. Maru builds his own 4th base in the main, so again, that idea of having to float on down to help out here is we're actually going to kill this missile turret as well. So 4 SCVs, a dead missile turret, and our Raven of GuMiho is having a field day. 8 kills? Yeah, I mean, he will be extremely happy with that, as now we've got 2 Vikings that look like they want to sneak into the main, land down, and pick away at a few SCVs in the back of the main base. And they turn away now, though, so it looks as though they're maybe not going to stick to that plan exactly. As we've got ourselves our Marine tank force in the center. Again, Marines, just because they were built early to help you defend and help you kind of power up your army when you don't have much other production available. At this point, well, it gets to a point where these Marines just don't really do much. Even as a buffer, they aren't very effective as they have no upgrades, etc. And they just run into tanks or Hellions when it's versus mech. So there is a stage at which these Marines probably just want to be killed off or sent in to be killed off. Hey, GuMiho is a serious supply lead right now. It's about 35 supply in the game overall. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Hellions around the bottom, and a Marine gets picked off. You see the Vikings push back a little bit. Our tanks get sieged up. Move around the left, and we pick off 1 single Hellion already there. 2-2 upgrades continuing in from GuMiho as we just see the army of Maru backing off. Again, up is going to be in GuMiho's favor throughout. Same as what we saw in the last game. Gonna drop a CC into that 12 o'clock and obviously just set up a couple turrets and stuff over here. The one thing that Maru is very good at is, as I mentioned, it's Romanticide, and he is very good at playing a patient, slow game if he needs to. I really think that's one of the things that Maru is very, very good at. So that might be his biggest strength here, being able to play a patient, slow game and just let GuMiho maybe kill himself attacking into you. Might be one of the better ways to try and play around this. Might be, might be. Alright, well, just getting set up as we do have GuMiho. He made a bit of a push. He's got a kind of a 2-part push. It's somewhat together, but kind of part going towards this mineral wall, part off to that right side and encroaching on the base from the other direction. So setting up a little bit for that. A couple of tanks are going to siege, and Maru maybe the one to take some extra damage. He's going to anti-armor missile to help him win the Viking fight, which I love. The Viking fight is one which he probably can win with the anti-armor missile. He was down in Vikings overall, but GuMiho also had some popping out of production back at home as well, right? So, kind of like that. Viking's going to come through again. He's going to get the Raven, right? And that's always big, although he eats an anti-armor missile himself. Now Maru's the one that has to back away, and again, playing that defensive game. The one thing about this, though, is that GuMiho knows what Maru is up to. He knows that Maru is just trying to play defensively. Just says, cool, well, if you're going to do that, yeah, I'm going to A, put the pressure on, and B, I'm going to expand like crazy. And I do like those decisions. I think those are, you know, exactly the things you want to be doing here. Are going to send out a counterattack, and I love that. He has kind of got this army halted, although here comes a big trade as Hellbats march forwards. Tanks took a position. And that was a bit of a trade out, sure. Maru ends up pulling back a little bit, afraid that that might continue, or that trend of pushing out might continue, or pushing in might continue. But honestly, I love the idea of a counterattack around the bottom side. GuMiho has just command centers for days. He has CCs seemingly everywhere. As he currently owns 4 orbitals, 2 CCs beyond that, and he's building what, 2 more? Yeah, kind of crazy. We do see a big fight though from Maru, going to push through. Interference matrices were good. Shut down a lot of GuMiho's tanks there. And that's actually a difference. 2 Ravens still in this game against 0. And Maru is now going to start building more and more Ravens. And this is a style he's very comfortable with. We saw in the World Team League this most recent season, him against Clem. One of the big key factors of their series was that Maru really liked to play this kind of Raven-style later game, while Clem tried to play a Viking Liberator, and in reality it did seem as though the Viking kind of Raven style was much stronger than Viking Lib, so we're going to see that kind of clash here again. It's not necessarily straight up better when it comes to just straight up fighting, kind of Viking on Viking, chasing down Liberators, etc. But it is just going to provide you so much more coverage, I feel like, on the ground armies too. And obviously that can transition into the air as well, right? You know, if you're able to get a bunch of order turrets down, you can do well that also. So, yeah, I mean, it wins you fights, but not in just straight up like A-click sort of ways. Got to be very clever and thoughtful about your spellcast and what you want to matrix, what you want to anti-armor missile. There's definitely a balance as well. If your opponent's playing very air-heavy, I don't think you want to just go all out on Ravens like you could do otherwise. I think you want to be a little bit more cautious of keeping your Viking count up and running so you can compete for that air control a little bit. And that's exactly what Maru is doing, rebuilding now a whole bunch more Vikings after getting to about 4 Ravens, or thereabouts. Yeah, exactly 4 Ravens at the moment. Vikings here from GuMiho will land to chase down Maru's siege tanks. At the same time, he's pushing the left side with these Hellions. SCVs get away, though. GuMiho has a group of tanks sieged up over there. These Vikings really hard commit in. They take a lot of damage in the process, though, and now taking an anti-armor missile. Are they just going to go down on the ground? Yeah, as the Vikings land of Maru, they're just going to fight them off. And that is going to be a Maru fight, as the army from the bottom right came sweeping in, cleaned up the army of GuMiho on the map. GuMiho still maintained a supply lead throughout this, though, and he still has these Hellbats on the left that have denied a 6th base from coming through. 5 base against 6 at the moment, in fact. As 2 new commanders get started, Maru now finds himself over here and will find himself a few SCVs going to be ending up long distance mining. That's actually quite a lot of SCVs, 14, 15 going down. That is a substantial number as GuMiho, this time he's the one that's being kept off bases a little bit more than he maybe would have originally liked to have been. GuMiho's still kind of close to maxing out, 3-3 done as well, although he is just now starting vehicle play. Maru's starting +3 vehicle plating, sorry, and getting his own +3 finished as well on the attack. GuMiho's already a step ahead on ship weapons. Having the +1 air weapons will be kind of a big deal in these air battles. Libera's getting sieged up. This Order gets pushed away. I mean, this push of GuMiho catches Maru a little bit off guard, not really ready to fight this. We're going to see this command center lifting as well, maybe trying to act as a tank against some of these Viking shots. Can work depending on where the attacks come from. Maru going to be forced to lift another base as GuMiho systematically pushes his way through all of this and figures out the best way to try and dismantle Maru here. Raven play going to come through now, though. Auto turrets going down en masse, but the anti-armor missile and the massive matrixes to help out as well. Those Ravens have spent all of their energy for one big fight, but what a fight it is for Maru. A huge fight. Look at the drop-off for GuMiho. Oh no, that was not it. I mean, that's the power of those Ravens. They have so much instant power, right? So much in the moment, boom. And they just blew that fight up for Maru as GuMiho loses so freaking much. Like, really, so freaking much goes down the drain right there. Oh, tanks are going to siege, and that is a dead planetary fortress. So now GuMiho is going to face the repercussions of losing the fight. He's going to try countering kill a base himself, but it seems like Maru has this under control as he goes chasing it down already. Those units get pushed away without too much problem. Now the Vikings coming in now. They are going to land. Aiming for this morphing orbit. Is that? It would look like it was an orbital that was morphing. So GuMiho trying to push back. I mean, Maru just wants to try and defend this base. It is his 5th base, right? So it is kind of the base that makes the difference of them being on equal bases or Maru ahead of base. Nice Matrix just shuts down the one siege tank that's here. These Vikings don't have a chance, hence they're on the ground trying to scarper our way on foot. And GuMiho just says, yep, not happening. Too much lost. Maru just has that one big fight. I can't stress again. Look, GuMiho all game long, army supply ahead, close but ahead, and the one fight that goes so wrong for him. And that is just the power of the freaking Ravens in those moments. GG. In the top right-hand side, the blue Terran player is GuMiho. He's putting up a hell of a fight, guys. I really think this last game obviously comes down so much to the idea of it being that Raven army from Maru. And it is something we've seen again and again from Maru. He is so comfortable sitting back and playing into Ravens. I mentioned at the start of the series, it's something he did against Clem in World Team League and so on. And Ravens just seem like the better option if you can get there and stay alive, and Romanticide is kind of the map to do that on. And Maru is so good at control, and he finds that one major fight he needs that basically turns the entire game around into his own favor. And now we tie up 1-1. And for the first time this series, we're not going to be seeing Maru going for a proxy across the map. Both games, he's ended up behind while trying to proxy 1 Rax or 2 from game 1 to game 2. I thought maybe a trend, you know, first game proxy 1 Rax, second game proxy 2 Rax, third game proxy 3 Rax, but that's not really a thing in TvT, but it'd be fun, you know, if Maru was just going to go with it. But yeah, this is obviously going to be a bit more of a non-aggressive play initially. It is double gas, but double gas that's more likely to be obviously a bit of pressure and still expanding behind it than a double gas that's like, oh, hell yeah, you know, balls to the wall, let's just go for this and try and deal some damage like the proxy Rax Reapers usually are. GuMiho, same build as last time, Marine into the factory, and I assume that's going to be followed up by a Reaper as well, as I imagine this looks similar to the last game for the most part. I don't imagine that's going to change up all that much. This SCV does turn around and head back down to the bottom left-hand corner of the map, so CV will come back down the bottom left. What will replay packs be available for this tournament? For this one specifically, this is not my tournament. I actually bought this replay pack off of their Match Arena page. I'm not sure if that's still eligible or still open. But I'm sure if you mentioned Team GP, they would still offer that as an option. Just because it's not my turn, because I already buy the replays myself, obviously, you know, it would be kind of shitty for me to then be like, haha, here you go, guys, have them. Because they're someone else's replays, so... For this one, no, but for like the WardiTV Summer Championship that we had earlier with Rogue and stuff, those ones we will have a replay pack for in the near future as well. So there is more replay pack action coming soon, I promise. But this specific tournament, these specific kind of Maru GuMiho games, they will not be included. So sorry for that. Like I say, just casting someone else's tournament, you know. Alrighty, so, just to kind of get back on track, and I guess just to mention quickly, if anyone is interested in replays for our tournaments, the ones we are allowed to give away, they go out in regular replay packs on the Discord to subscribers or Patreon users for $5 or more, so do check that out. Gotta throw a little bit of salad in there, don't we, as we do not get this SCV. There we go, gets it now. These two Reapers and Maru give themselves up for a couple of SCV kills, as his command center is about to be done. Not too far behind GuMiho's similar timing. Army supplies for a moment was concerned, but it's just because Maru went Tech Lab, Cyclone, whereas GuMiho has just gone Reaper, Hellion non-stop. That can be concerning here still, because obviously this is going to be a lot of Reaper, Hellion showing up to put some pressure on, but the Cyclone, as long as it's got a little bit of support, should be able to hold its own. Ooh, I like that. Marine's in a perfect position in the main to deal with these Reapers. Cyclone now gets rid of one Reaper right away, and now the two Cyclones together deal with the three Hellions. This is actually really beautiful. This actually would have been much worse for Maru, I think, if the Reaper Hellion just showed up together and maybe targeted down a Cyclone or tried to target down some SCVs near the Cyclone. I feel like that would have gone much worse than it did there, so... As the two Hellions turn back around to the top side. Do you have Macfield building on this Tech Lab? And that suggests we're going to see GuMiho play Mech for a third time in a row here. Maru just started up his initial Raven. We'll see if he wants to stick with Mech himself. It's obviously been Mech versus Mech a couple times so far. Do we maybe see some Mech versus Bio this time? I'd say there's a good chance we do, actually. I don't think necessarily Maru's the kind of player who plays Mech every game TvT. The big question that might influence that, though, is if Maru feels much more comfortable playing Mech versus Mech instead of Bio versus Mech. Then he might choose to keep on going Mech, and there's a fourth gas, which is very suggestive of indeed playing some Mech here. Third CC in position from GuMiho as well. He has been very confident this series, just has had a lot of early leads, and is using that confidence and those early leads to safely take third base positions. I don't think this one is necessarily as convincing as the previous games, where he definitely was ahead early on and definitely made a lot more sense. This time it feels a lot more confidence-fueled, rather than, oh yeah, I've got the map control, logically I should be able to hold this kind of fuel, you know? That's going to be seeing the couple Banshees just going to go running around that bottom side, so GuMiho, no cloak on these guys, so they are really just kind of damage dealers in this situation. I mean, they're flying into an undefended natural. I mean, good potential for at least a couple of kills. As long as you target the right ones, they don't jump into the gas and avoid the shots. That's not bad at all. 5 kills and you're out of there with both Banshees alive. He turned around. I don't agree with the turnaround. I think both the Banshees get out alive, hence why I said it. If he doesn't turn around, that's why I thought turning around didn't really make any sense. Because then the second Cyclone added a lock-on, so then there was a double lock-on on one Banshee. Yeah, I don't really, yeah, I don't know what to say, actually. I really don't think there was much sense in turning that Banshee around to try and fight the Cyclones. Maru, 35 to 21 army supply in the game as he lands his third. He's actually kind of pushing forward at the moment. I wonder, so here's what I would be thinking if I'm Maru. I think he says, right, you've got Cyclones, you've got the Cyclone upgrade, but I've got a really good tank count and I've got a good Raven count. I think what Maru says is that this setup for me, having defended and shut down a lot of your units initially, etc., gives me a really good chance to get in a really good position. Your Cyclones don't do anything if I can get sieged up, because then you're going to struggle to lock on and really do much at all there. And he's got the Raven count to bully himself into a good position, and that's why I think he's really just going forward with this and looking as though he just wants to push into his opponent's base, which is exactly what he ends up doing. So, yeah, I think just the setup that Maru has, it makes a lot of sense for him to play like this as he comes straight across. That orbital command is going to take some shots. We're going to see a Matrix going down on a siege tank here, another order turret or two going down. A Raven flying overhead gets shot down as well. I'm just going to be seeing one tank high ground, might be able to put some damage out. Maru scans back though and it instantly dies. All the turrets will go down as well. SCVs are pulled in from GuMiho to try and keep himself alive. He just can't deal with this attack. And Maru is going to take the lead in the series 2-1. GG. Maru is going to go up 2-1 and be one map away. As in the bottom left-hand side, now behind in the series for the first time. A blue Terran player, let's see if he can fight back with some more Mech play, which he's been pretty consistent with. It is GuMiho. And it is worth mentioning that Maru was setting up to play Mech himself again in that last game. So, a lot of Mech versus Mech. Not a single stim was built this day. Interesting stuff. Well, back to proxy raxing. Maru just one rax across the map this time. So, to be fair, he's brought out a variety of proxy racks as well. It's not less like he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do the same proxy every single game. He went 1 rax at home, 1 rax on the map in game 1. Game 2 went 2 racks on the map. Game 3 just 1 rax, which may be much more just Marauder focused than Reaper focused. So yeah, Tech Lab goes down. Marauders make a lot of sense here. Just the next kind of proxy along. And when you only proxy 1 rax, it doesn't really make sense to build Reapers because you just kind of get matched by Reapers of your opponent, which are pretty much always made. Whereas the Marauder can indeed make things a bit interesting. He cancelled the Tech Lab and built a Reaper. Is that because GuMiho scouted? I'm going to assume that's going to be because GuMiho scouted. Because that was when he decided to cancel and just say 1 Reaper, and then we will go from there. Yeah, obviously GuMiho, he does think it's proxy racks, so he puts the double bunker down. I wonder if the Marauders would have been just okay anyway. Actually, against these bunker positions, I think they would have been, because they still would have been able to put some pressure on like this deeper or so. I don't think I would have hated the Marauders. Now instead, the Reapers obviously feel as though it's just a bit of a... Well, now it feels as though it's like, well, why have I got a proxied barracks? And obviously, yeah, that's kind of the case when this happens, but... He sent the first Reaper back home, kills an SCV. Now that you know a Reaper's back home, do you salvage these bunkers in GuMiho, and do you put yourself into a bit of a better eco spot by getting your command center started, or what is the plan going to be? Well, he's going to keep them for the moment. Problem is now Maru is starting to expand, right? You don't have any map control until this Reaper shows up, so now GuMiho sees an expansion. Now surely he's got to at least kind of think about the idea of expanding. Because otherwise he's just going to be starting to fall further and further behind. He picks off an SCV, as we do have the scouting racks from Maru just kind of picking up the info. Again, GuMiho is still on 1 base. Definitely a... Definitely turned into more of a problem, I would say. As Maru finishes up his starport, he'll drop a Tech Lab as well. GuMiho is already on his way to his first Raven, so that will be one advantage that he holds here. Let's see if he can keep that, as the racks can take a little bit more damage. Marine gonna just fire up a storm on that. The Hellions joining up together and just gonna see the Raven moving away back around that left-hand side. It's just going to be going back and out of there. Command center from GuMiho goes into the main base as well. Those 2 bunkers just going to salvage up as our Hellions pull down to the bottom. We have this tank going to be finishing. The Raven about halfway done. Well, early game is kind of awkwardly peaceful. I say awkwardly because obviously there was like a Reaper across the map from GuMiho, and there was obviously, you know, the initial proxy from Maru that set things off in a weird way. GuMiho still needs that CC to move down. That's going to be Maru's big advantage here, but obviously GuMiho is going for the push, so he's the player looking to make a move, looking to try and make the difference in this. That one medevac is aiming for the main base as the Cyclone comes in, gets a lock onto the medevac, but uh-oh. Cyclone is denied. So instantly killed. Now GuMiho's going to come back for some reinforcements and bring even more units in the main. He will double turret for the siege tank here, and he'll get it. His tank took some damage though. And oh, the auto turret actually got the kill on it as well. So that's actually a nice little touch from Maru. Does clean that up in the end, as now Hellions are chasing these SCVs and Maru taking some hits. But he's actually still 5 workers ahead, so his economy is way ahead of where GuMiho's is at. So despite this damage done, Maru should still be coming out of this feeling okay. Low HP Cyclone was chased, but he lifts the depot to block the Hellion. Now the Cyclone surrounded by repairs, and so that is not going to end up going down. And now we see the end of this medevac as well, as everything gets cleaned up by Maru. And has GuMiho done enough to justify his attack in? I do not think he has, as we see the stim pack is coming through on this Rax. Reactor starts on the starport. This Rax going to be finishing up here in a moment or so, maybe ready to hop that on over to the reactor. Marine tank just going to knock down a set of rocks here now. Stim is about to be done from GuMiho, as we'll get that finished up. Engineering base building on the either side of the map, and I'm so sad because I feel like, you know, we've had Mech versus Mech every game, and now it's being ruined. Bio versus Bio. Ugh. I was enjoying the Mech versus Mech mayhem. Well, GuMiho already has that stim finished, of course. That's something we mentioned as well, and I didn't make as big a deal about it being Bio then. I was almost in disbelief, if I'm honest with you. So Maru is much later on the stim pack, and GuMiho just in general, upgrades are storming ahead, so we'll see if we can do something with that. And that will definitely open some timings for him in this game, and that's something that Maru will have to watch out for. You don't want to let, you know, GuMiho run away with this or anything. As Marine tank continues towards the top. More racks coming through. There's orbital command and Maru about to finish up. Just gonna see a scan on either side. Both players kind of having a look there. Think about what might be the next play. Is just going to be seeing our two Vikings in production. GuMiho aiming for a little bit of air control. At least going to try and match Maru's. 3 Ravens against the 1 though, and that's always going to have me worried. So if someone has a major Raven advantage like that, you better hope you're the other guy with a plan. But I don't know what the plan is to offset the fact that there's going to be 2 additional Ravens of energy going out in the fight. That energy usage can absolutely swing a fight, and we see it day in and day out when 1 Matrix makes a difference. Never mind the potential of 4 more Matrixes or turrets and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? It's just such a big deal. I can't help but feel a little bit Maru favored right now because of that. I feel like the game's gone okay for Maru too. Again, the income has been in his favor this game. Army's been a little bit GuMiho favored, but again, as long as you're kind of playing defensively, I'm not, you know, that's not really concerned me for Maru. Marine tank coming around toward the center. Rest of this army just setting up here. Another tank is going to siege, or unsiege and relocate. Yeah, GuMiho not going to find a chance to break through just yet. Our 1-1 upgrades of Maru are already coming up to completion. As our Cyclone is going to find a Marine. And just going to be seeing the rest of this Marine tank forces settling down into the middle of the map. GuMiho does go straight into 2-2, and again, been keeping this map control throughout. The one thing I would worry about here as GuMiho is maybe just what if my opponent goes around me, and obviously that's what the Sensor Tower, the Vikings are for. But yeah, what if you just go down this right-hand side? Because GuMiho's got so much focus. As we zoom out any further, not really. So much focus like here and here. He has no focus around here. And the couple tanks kind of deal with the backstab. One SCV is going to see these Marines, but that might just initiate these Marines to stem forward into an undefended base, but GuMiho is pulling back to deal with it. Saved by that SCV, because that could have been a dead mineral line, maybe a dead command center, depending how he played out. That one SCV going to build a fourth in location has just saved GuMiho so many problems. I might have actually genuinely saved the game for him. Very nicely done. Oh, we're going to have a bit of a breakout here. Maru's going to decide what matrixes he wants to pop. He's going to pop a bunch of them. Wow. I mean, when every single one of your tanks gets matrix, isn't that just a sign that Ravens are kind of good? Wow, my god. I mean, what are you even meant to do? Well, you know, probably build Ravens yourself. GuMiho just got too aggressive with what he was playing with, and oh no, he just got his Raven shot down before he did anything as well. GuMiho just kind of, I mean, this game just ended out of nowhere, really. Just GuMiho getting too aggressive, Maru just getting a jump on him. Ravens will do that. You just can't play that aggressively into triple Raven. And I think that was maybe GuMiho's biggest mistake, that he was almost trying to be so aggressive all of the time, when in fact he could have just done with slowing it down and being the player to kind of not be attacking. GG's, and that's going to be our boy Maru taking it 3-1, advancing through to the next round of this tournament.